Welcome to In Presence We Trust, a podcast about the art and heart of holding group transformational spaces. I'm Rachel Rickards, founder of the Field Facilitator Training. In Presence We Trust is a sanctuary for aspiring and experienced facilitators seeking to evolve their emergent facilitation and embodied leadership. In this episode, I am joined by a friend, colleague, and very special guest, Clara Gomez. Clara is an international facilitator of transformative processes for personal growth and soul emergence. She has supported thousands on the path to wholeness, empowered intimacy, and soul-centered living. Clara's facilitation style blends somatic awareness, transpersonal psychology, and the esoteric arts, bringing a strong emphasis on permission, authenticity, and self-responsibility. She is the founder of The Man Within, an initiatory program designed for women to understand, mature, and integrate their masculine energy. In the conversation you're about to hear, we speak into Clara's journey of discovering her inner masculine and creating the Man Within program. She shares about how balancing her strong feminine energy with an equally strong masculine counterpart led to her personal transformation and deeper understanding of herself. From there, we dive into the role of being facilitators and speak about guiding others through personal transformation and the essentiality and importance of how following your heart and soul whispers is essential on the facilitation path. We also explore how swapping roles and going from being facilitator to a participant in transformational group containers can really deepen your understanding and all of our understanding of what it means to facilitate. If you're ready to join me, let's begin by taking a deep breath. I'm going to dive right into the juicy bit because that's kind of how I work. You've created this incredible program called The Man Within, and it has been a big reflection of your own journey into like diving into your masculine. And I would just love to have you share a little bit about that, the journey of how you took yourself through this process and then created a group experience out of it. Like, just give us a little insight into maybe starting with your personal journey. And then we can kind of talk about how you started to make that translation into group work and offering like a course or a program.
Wow. Sure. Ooh. So the reason this was a theme to bring for myself and then for others is because I dearly needed to look at it with all of my attention. um, yeah, I would say for most of my life, I have been identified as a feminine being, very feminine, very vibrant, as you said at the beginning.
Yeah.
And, uh, and that's beautiful. And because
Mm.
my feminine is so strong, I realized it needed a just as strong masculine counterpart to meet it. Uh,
Mm.
because it has beautiful attributes, but also it can have a lot of, let's say, shadows or less healthy expressions. So without a masculine counterpart that is just as strong, as developed, and as, so to speak, mature, my feminine energy was this raw, kind of very intense, sometimes out of control power. So about 7 years ago, I decided to actually do that work, to meet who he would be inside of me, this kind of
Mm.
archetype. Who is he? And I turned it into that, actually, into an avatar, into someone to meet inside of me. Yeah, an archetype, an inner man. That's why the man within. So it became a bit of
Mm.
a game like that. That way, it became more fun to explore that part, because sometimes shadow work can be so serious and intense and uncomfortable. So it was like an exploration. Okay, who is this part of me? What does it like? What are its challenges? What does it long for? And in that process, I learned so much about myself and grew and became more whole in a way. Like the concept of the inner couple became real, this deep
Mm,
inner intimacy. And
mm,
there's so much I could say about the benefits of it, from improving relationships with the outer masculine to finding that I was projecting less of my own masculine outside, meaning I became a bit less needy or critical or judgmental of
wow.
men or partners that were coming my way. So it became obvious, to continue answering your question, that this could be useful for others too. I can't be the only one in this situation. So the program came out of my own process, which was a 30-day immersion to discover who he was inside of me. Designed it into a 30-day program, offered it to many different women. Over 300 women did it in about 3 years. And now it's turning also into retreats and other kinds of offerings and mentorships. Um, and I would say, to really answer the question, to bring it into facilitation, into a facilitated space, what it really took was to go to the depths of it myself, to know the work intimately. And then from that,
Mm-hmm.
the the call to offer it was almost like a no-brainer. It was inevitable. That's the soul calling, saying, you've got this now. You've integrated it, or I'm on my way to integrating it. Offer it to others out of that overflow and generosity for something amazing that you found, right? It's like, yes, here it is,
Mm,
world.
mm,
So,
mm. I'm so curious, as you took yourself on this this personal exploration, and you create this avatar of this man who is your inner king, like the one that is holding this insane queen that you are. Like, how did that look on a practical or physical plane? Like, what did you do differently in the world? Like, did you dress like him or act like him, or how did you take yourself on dates? Like, what was the expression of that? How did it look?
that's such a good question. I'm laughing because it was fun. Yeah. Well, during those 30 days, which were dedicated to finding who he was, so I actually let, quote unquote, him to make all decisions. That was the main
Interesting.
work of it. From the moment I wake up to when I go to bed, he would make the decisions, like, what are we going to have for breakfast? Or, okay, oh, I'm going to make my bed today. And I realized it was him, so to speak, that wanted to keep things in order and tidy for my inner feminine to be surrounded by beauty and ease.
Mm,
He decided what to wear. I realized that the part of me that likes to wear black a lot and be kind of invisible is him. Um, interestingly, yeah, we would decide, or he would decide, who we speak to or not, how much energy we put into things, what we would work on that day. Yeah, it was really a matter of letting him through in every possible aspect of my life. Um,
mm.
and I did take myself on dates, or rather, he did. It was a time of a lot of amazing self care and attention to my needs, and really attuning to what I need in each moment, like the piece around, who do I want to spend time with or speak to or not. we saved so much energy actually in not needing to
Mm.
please others out of a default pattern, or contort to meet someone's expectation. It was
Mm.
revelatory and transformative. It was like, what was taking me so long to to implement this.
Yeah. And what was the impact for this wild, crazy feminine that you embody? Like what started to shift around the way that you show up as a woman in the world?
Wow. Ooh, I'm taking myself back there to really to answer this. Well, I realized a difference in how people, other people, were behaving towards me. For
Interesting.
example, for example, men previously would mainly be interested in either seducing me or flirting with me and so on. Now, with my masculine more online or in the foreground, actually they were listening to what I had to say a
Ah.
lot more. I found that as a contrast from the past, right? So, yeah, interested in what I had to say. And interestingly, the women were the ones who were trying to seduce my masculine. So that was very amusing too. Um, and through that, learn how tricky it can be sometimes to stay present in the presence of a woman that's coming fully in her Shakti to try and get your attention. Very
Wow.
interesting. I got a lot of learnings in terms of what it must be like to be a man. Wow. And by no means am I saying I know all the things. Of course, I'm not. I'm not in a male body, but I learned a lot, and it helped me grow a lot of compassion for men,
Mm.
the masculine
Mm.
in everyone.
Mm. Mm.
But to go back to the question, how did my powerful feminine feel any change? Containment, actually.
Mm.
A sense of containment, a sense of I got me.
Mm. Mm.
Looked different ways. I mean, as I already mentioned, improved self care. And
Mm.
even deeper than that, the containment and the self care ended up looking like actually a regulated nervous system.
Mm.
Noticing through my awareness, through that developed masculine, a lot more the places I was going into freeze, into dissociation, how to bring myself back to ease in a regulated state. That was all through the inner masculine work to track, the embodied, the somatic cues, to track, like, what is it that I need right now, and actually do it. All of that to me was the inner masculine work, which then helped my feminine be more authentic, be more online with her medicine of yeah, spontaneity, playfulness, in a way that it wasn't draining me, but actually
Mm.
nourishing myself and others.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, so as a profession, you're a group facilitator and you're working a lot in fields of sexuality and intimacy and relating. And so I'm also curious, like, what was the impact of doing this inner masculine work on who you are as a facilitator? Was there a shift in how you held space or from where? Like, what did that look like?
Such great questions, Rachel. Absolutely. Yeah. I would say the quality of my space holding has increased
Mm.
massively. um, the attunement to the space and to other nervous systems has improved. The yeah, the reading of people's energies, the learning what is needed in each moment. I would say it has helped with also increased confidence in intervening. For example,
Mm,
circle share, or if someone is asking for help in the middle of a very intense ritual, boom, coming with decision, coming with certainty, coming with also listening. All of this, I would say, go into the masculine holding, the masculine sense of responsibility of uh,
mm,
showing up for oneself, showing up for another,
mm,
and that sense also of mm, showing up with help and guidance, but without trying to fix.
mm,
Letting something be. So witnessing what is going on and what's being shared without judgment, without, aha, I know the solution to this and I'm going to bring it, but actually listening without judgment, letting something unfold. And then with attunement, when the time is ready, bring a suggestion, bring an invitation. And I'll say something here. With all that I'm sharing, the masculine is definitely needed and on board, but I would say there's ultimately a dance of masculine and feminine that's happening throughout everything I've just shared,
yeah.
which is ultimately why I do all this work, right? To bring that inner couple or inner marriage of masculine and feminine within. So more of us is available for the group field, for the group space.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so fascinated by how facilitators take themselves through these deep initiations and journeys and then create a translation to invite people into that experience. So I just would love to to invite you back in time to that moment that you took yourself through this really powerful initiation of this inner marriage and then said, okay, here's how I'm going to offer that to the world. This is the person who that is for. This is what we're going to do. This is going to be what the result is going to be of this experience. Like, how did all of that work through you? What was that process of like going from um, initiation to actualization?
Okay. Hmm. I would say, hmm, what really made me decide to bring it forward was realizing the positive impact on myself, the growth and the healing. Um, and as I said earlier, the realization that I can't be the only one and others must maybe even need this too. Now, into the process of converting it into an offering, who I have to say, I am very, I'm going to use the word shamanic for things like this because I'm not very strategic when it comes to offerings and
Mm,
business even at all. Um, I'm kind of maybe learning that because we got to, but it's more like an influx of inspiration comes through. And it's almost as if I see it all laid out in front of me. I remember
mm,
the stages of the program becoming clear, like, oh, this is week one, this is week two, this is week three, these are the themes, the practices, the topics, the different explorations, and through that, it's like, yeah, like the core of the program gets born, and then other things are developed around that core.
mm,
And you asked, and who is it for, and so on. Yeah, really, it was a matter of tuning into who I was 2 years before or 3 years before, and where I was at and what my needs were, and figuring out, all right, well, there's probably other women in this situation, and speaking to that, speaking
Mm.
to those needs, speaking to those perhaps problems or desires for growth. Hmm. Does that answer what you were asking? I'm happy to
Yeah.
elaborate on it, but yeah.
Yeah, and then as you've been leading this program, like what are you seeing happen for the women who come through? What is like, and has there been elements of that that have even been, how to say this, like surprising to you as like, oh wow, like I wasn't expecting that, or somehow that it has taken on a life of its own?
Yeah. Let's see some of the main things for women who've done the mind within. Phew. A sense of self empowerment, much like I was sharing about myself before, a sense of self holding, containment, of not needing to rely on finding an outer man to feel complete,
Mm,
to yeah, to hold them through difficult situations, which of course, by the way, I want to say, it's still fine to need it, to want it, to desire it. I do also to this day sometimes desire that. But there's a difference between desiring it or longing for it and needing it and
yeah,
relying on it as the only thing that will do.
yeah.
Um, so that with in itself brings such a sense of self-reliance and of I got me, I trust myself that I can take myself through this, for example, dark night of the soul, and is hugely empowering.
Mm,
Women would talk about, yeah, finding their inner king and how that shows up in their business and how they are bringing, rising up the bar as to their non-negotiables, both in business
mm,
and in relating. It's almost like once you develop and mature your inner masculine enough, you're not going to be a match anymore to energies that don't meet that frequency. So in a
mhm.
way, you're upgrading yourself and
Yeah,
therefore attract another quality of masculine energy around you too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it occurs to me, yeah, like it's almost like the process of giving myself an imprint of how I want to be met by the masculine by being that masculine for myself. And then it like creates an energetic signature that says like I'm not willing to settle for anything less than this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Profound relational shifts, I imagine. And also, as you said, professional.
Yes. And I want to be very transparent that I'm still on the path. And of course, it'll have different impact on different women. But I'm finding still the places where, oof, my own masculine needs to grow into spaces of welcoming greater intimacy or having even clearer, loving boundaries. There's
Mhm.
always spaces for growth, right? So I'm still finding them, and this work, as any other, is always evolving. So
Yeah.
still very much in it too.
Yeah, I imagine that's, yeah, it's humble and natural. And it was going to be one of my next curiosities was like, what is the evolution of this work? Like, where do you see if this is where the man within has come to? Like, where do you see the trajectory of where this might continue? Is there a new Is there a new growth edge that you're pushing up against personally that you can see eventually kind of weaving its way into your work?
Oh, yes. Got two answers. One is very personal and real and vulnerable, and the other
Mm.
is a, a lot more geared towards the future and future offerings. And I'm going to answer both because why not? The first one, ooh, yeah, has to do with finding my own edges of growth, even my own limitations, I would say. As with any shadow work, which, by the way, doing inner feminine, inner masculine work is shadow work, as Jung would call it, is the anima and the animus aspects of the unconscious. Um, so, as with any shadow work, I keep finding new areas I had not seen before. And you can imagine, after 10 years of deep inner work, finding places where things you haven't seen before is like, like, how? like, how confronting and humbling.
Yeah.
So I'm meeting those at the moment, and one of them, I'm going to reveal it here, has to do with my convictions and my
Mm.
belief, and how strongly I bring that sometimes, perhaps to relating. Yeah, and having to really check on those, having to check on assumptions and yeah, almost dogmatic uh,
Mm.
beliefs, dogmatic ways of being. That's like, well, this is the only right way.
Mm.
Doing that to the masculine, to the animus, because that's how it's understood in Jungian psychology, that the unintegrated inner masculine can show up in women through that kind of behavior,
Mm.
let's say.
Yeah, it's very black and white and right and wrong and yeah, narrow kind of this is the way.
Yeah, righteous.
Righteous. Yeah, nice. Yeah.
The other, I wanna also name this one. The other avenue that's revealing itself is actually that of the inner marriage. So not
Mm.
only are we working on our contrasexual self, inner feminine for men, inner masculine for women, but then bringing it to the inner marriage piece where masculine and feminine come together in union, which to me
Mm.
is what a lot of the esoteric traditions and tantric traditions were talking about, actually. This inner union of masculine and feminine reveals the unique note of the soul that we are here to embody, that we are here to bring. And that juices me up like nothing else, because it's what I'm here for. It's what I'm here for, to find in myself, and what I'm here for to help others discover and help emerge, right? Like the unique note of our soul, what we've come here to do, that is our expression and no one else's, and is medicine for others. I would say that
Mm.
love making of inner masculine feminine, that
Mm.
the offspring of that, the result of that is that soul note in each of us.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's what I'm
Mm.
taking next.
Yeah, I really feel your what's so sweet. I feel your passion and your devotion to this call. And I really appreciate that. It's like it's very alive, it's very bubbly, it's very like, but also there's like, I don't know, a ruthlessness that I perceive as well of like almost like I'm willing to die for this. Like this matters to me.
Yes, Rachel, I feel so seen. Wow, you really see through people.
Yeah.
Nail it.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. Mm. Thank you for doing that and bringing this into the world, and also for the vulnerability and the courage that it takes to be like a living piece of art, to just be like really in the process yourself and being worked by it, and then also reaching out a hand and inviting people along for that journey with you.
I think I couldn't do it any other way. That's the way I'm made. Thank you.
Totally get it. I totally get it. And like I want to talk about that too, because you've really, how to say this, you've really grown up through this work. Like, is my perception, as well as like you came into transformational group containers and you just like completely devoted yourself and rose through all of those initiations into the kind of queen embodied facilitator that you are. And it's such a courageous, beautiful path that you've been on for over a decade. And I see that more and more facilitators are coming in through this way of like, I'm going to fully take myself through this journey, and then I have no choice but to offer that to the world, because it matters so much to me that like I said, I would die to continue to transmit and bring this work into the world. And so, just like in reflection of that journey that you've been on